Hello! Just a moment, getting this set up. Hello to my one viewer. Hope you're having a pleasant day. Thank you for joining me. A lot of this is just, the benefit of talking out loud and figuring things out in a kind of different way. So this is still a fun exercise for me, even if it's just the two of us here. Okay, so this is Harrowing. Harrowing is a one-page micro RPG, a game that went on to influence a lot of the design for Enter the Survival Horror. And the last version of this game was made about a year ago, and I think it's quite good. But in that year, I've done more playtesting, I've gotten more experience with it, and I think that there is some room for improvement. I think the GM side is basically perfect. Don't need to touch it. But for the player side, I want to add a couple things. So basically, let's just type out what we're trying to update. The short version is that we want to add 2 additional levels of effect. Up to level 5. Maximum effect. Why is that had one too many spaces, which is why it looked a little bit weird. Limited, standard, great, outstanding. Sure, whatever, that's fine. So right now, and we're just literally doing, almost a white box design because we want to get this figured out and then we'll figure out the layout. But the idea is you start out with level 1 effect. If you just take an action, Harrowing, if you're unfamiliar with the game, it uses a resource economy rather than any kind of random elements. So players accumulate will. You get will either at the start of a new scene, the game is divided into scenes, or by inviting trouble, which is down here. It's a game about making trouble and getting in over your head, so that works really well. And then you spend will in order to take actions. When you do that, the effect of the action depends on what you're doing, how you're invoking the qualities, advantages, and other ways that you can leverage success in your favor. So, just by spending the point of will, you start out with level 1 effect, limited effect. So, if there's a clock, it's going to tick once. Pretend there's a clock here. I could pull in a clock element as a visual aid, but we know what clocks are. It's a clock. The clock ticks once. If players have qualities and advantages. Qualities are similar to aspects in a game like Fate or, kind of like approaches. Instincts in Enter the Survival Horror ended up being inspired by this. And qualities are supposed to be punny. So, theoretically, you should be able to use the same quality for multiple situations. So the go-to example I have is hacking, or rather hacker, as a quality. And if you have the quality hacker, that means that you can invoke that quality to try to unlock a security terminal. But also, if you've got an axe, you can use it to hack an opponent to pieces. Or, if you're trying to cause a distraction, you can pretend like you're coughing a bunch because you're hacking up your lungs. So you want them to be kind of punny and goofy. Qualities are fun. I like qualities. If you invoke a quality, you get +1 effect. I should probably move my little portrait. I feel like it's kind of right on top of things. So let's get down there. I think that's a little bit better for this one. Anyways, advantages are tools, items, something that you are carrying. I think something that you are carrying is the way to phrase it, because it doesn't have to necessarily be literal. So it could be a compass, and if you're using that compass as part of your action, then you increase the effect. But it could also be a scandalous secret. And, you know, that's something that's abstract. It's not physical, it's not tangible, but it's still something that you carry with you. So if you're able to use that, then you also get to increase effect. How it used to work was that was it. It could go up to level 3 effect. And now I think that I want it to be able to go up to level 5 effect. And that's going to come in 2 parts. One, if you use the environment to your advantage, invoke okay, with the phrasing, I describe what a quality is, I describe what advantage is. That's fine. It's fine for now. And then also, if you are assisted by an ally, which is, you know, pretty obvious stuff, but it took me until now to really want to formalize it. So right there, that almost is all the rules that I need to change. But what that means is I also need to add one more bold action, which is going to be oh, yikes. What is happening there? Some ghosts. That looks like a nightmare. Do I have multiple layers on top of each other? Oh. I had some weird kind of a stroke thing happening, which was causing me to have a stroke. So, I think I'm going to remove Take a Chance. That was included there as like kind of a catch-all just in case kind of situation, you know, in case one of these rules doesn't cover it. I've run the game a bunch of times. I've never once had someone propose something that made sense to use that action. So we can just remove it. Help an ally. Assist in another character's bold action to grant +1 effect. No, that's not true. So here's the thing. This is why I was kind of stumped by this, because assisting something is something that makes a lot of sense and it should be in a lot of games. But with the economy and the way that Harrowing works, the math didn't work out. So, maybe I will pull in a visual aid. So, with okay, stakes. Stakes in Harrowing go from 1 to 5. Each scene that, again, the game is divided into scenes. Each scene has a set of stakes, and the stakes are from 1 to 5. So when you spend that point of will, you've got will up here. When you spend that point of will and you take an action, the narrator, who is, you know, the GM, gains a number of doom points equal to the stakes. So in this case, let's pretend that the stakes are at level 3. That means that they are going to get 3 points of doom when you take an action. Now, if another player takes a bold action, which costs 1 will, and the narrator gains doom, in order to increase the effect of another player's, that means that the narrator gets another 3 points of doom, and in exchange, all you're getting is +1 effect, where if they took a second action, then they have the potential to get 3 levels of effect. The math didn't work. It was the systems of incentives, the cost was too high to do it. So actually, what we need to do is we need to figure out a way to phrase it. I'm just going to create another one. Help an ally. Assist in another character's bold action. You are able to fill in the blanks of any effect that hasn't already been claimed. That's super sloppy phrasing. That needs to be fixed. But the idea is there. And then also, narrator does not gain doom. Which has some presence because consume resource, the narrator also gains 0 doom. So we have like that exception. Let's actually steal that phrasing and formatting exactly. The narrator gains 0 doom when you take this action. Okay, so what that means is that we now have these 5 levels. We have these 4 levels that players can use to increase their effect. You start with level 1. And then if I take an action, but I only have a quality that I can introduce, then that means that so that brings me up to level 2, because I'm only taking advantage of one of these options. I have a quality. That means that another player can spend a point of will. The narrator does not gain any additional doom, but they are able to bring their advantage to the action. They're able to use the environment to their action, and then they also, because they are assisting, they increase the action, the effect of the action. So that would mean that 2 players would be spending 2 points of will to gain 5 levels of effect, while the narrator would only gain 3 points of doom in this particular situation. And now suddenly the math makes sense. Now that feels like a viable option, where you're spending more resources, but not necessarily setting yourself up for more failure. And then people are able to shore up each other's weaknesses. Someone is able to, yes and another person's idea. That feels good to me. The problem is entirely in how to communicate this effectively. So, I think that's largely correct. Should helping be a bold action or a free action? Because it costs will, but the narrator does not gain doom from it. It should be a bold action. Yeah, it should be a bold action. And then I also like to add these like 3 little examples to each of them. So I will try to spend a minute. Distract a foe. And in the examples, I like to have like combat, environment, and social conflicts that these are solving. So for resist, the locket stops a bullet, but also you brush off your stepmother's passive aggressive behavior. I like having that social element to it. I also like helping an ally by harassing the bride. Distract a foe. Yeah. Distract a foe. Provide a boost. Be a hype man. That's gonna get changed, but like the sentiment is there. So, with that, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. So, also X Mataby in the comments says you watched one of my playtests. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. It is very flattering to know that there's literally anyone on planet Earth who's actually watching the stuff I do. That's cool. So, the problem now, this should be quite simple, but this page is so crammed full of information that just literally fitting it on the page is a challenge, and one that I've spent a lot of time just fussing over formatting and shape sizes and that kind of stuff. Even just adding that one line throws off the formatting, which means that I think it's time to, and also I wanted to add this little bit of credit. That seemed nice. Let's move that to the top. This needs more space to breathe. Yeah, we gotta trim a little bit. I added the little credit line because I printed out some copies for my local game store for free RPG game. Aww, Adaby says that he's also a fan of Enter the Survival Horror, so thank you. If you have any questions about either of those games, feel free to just shoot the shit with me. I'm doing this in the background, and pretty soon I feel like I'm going to get quiet and contemplative as I, ponder layout, which is not terribly exciting. I also have to update my Itch.io page because I have started doing my big rebrand, which I feel like, now is a pretty good time to be doing that. I'm not terribly popular yet. Let's, yeah. And then also, it's very nice that even if you go to that old URL, itch.io will automatically redirect you to the new one, so I don't have to worry about that too much. think this look like a whisper more of breathing room would be good. I think this is the margin for if you're printing out on a standard printer, one that doesn't have the ability to print right to the edges. So I don't want to go any further than that. I wonder... Okay, this is a dumb idea. I literally just... That's sloppy. I don't like doing that. We'll see. Might do that. That has all kinds of weird implications for just how text lays out and kerning and all that, bullshit. Leading, kerning. Let's try to remove some of this quick reference guide. Bold action there. Game's doomed equals the stakes in here. Reacts by taking moves. Player is given an opportunity to resist. That's all good. End of the road, affliction, stressed out, all pretty important. Probably should have clocks somewhere. Invoking. Get rid of scenes. What's going on here? Is that right? Oh. Yeah, see how it just scaled weird? You gotta be kind of careful on how you're moving the boxes. In Harrowing, reading from the chat, in Harrowing, how much do you anticipate players free role-playing in between their bold actions? I sort of imagine that the players can interact with and introduce elements and progress a scene without necessarily taking a bold action, where the bold actions are the dramatic parts of the scene. Yes, so basically you want players to feel like they are able to... Mattaby answered their own question by reading the free actions. But yeah, the idea is that, like, basically anything that's going to move the scene forward, anything that's going to be of real consequence is going to be a bold action. You don't want players kind of waffling and trying to game the system. But at the same time, they are able to, bounce off of each other, just talk, work things out, plan, and that's all fine. Harrowing is a game about incident, and it is a one-shot game. It is not a game that is super invested in character development. The character development that this game cares about is like the stress and pressure it puts you under and seeing how you react to that, rather than, some games like really kind of create like a nice hangout vibe, or just want you to just kind of sit in the characters. This is about having problems, dealing with them, and then hopefully someone dying, at least someone. Because dying's fun. Okay. End of the road. If you reach the end, I haven't read this in a minute, so I'm just going to talk out loud for a second. End of the road. If you reach the end of the road, you die or are otherwise removed from the game. This is your big moment. Take a last resort action if it wasn't already your last action, and describe how you die. Go mad, are captured, sacrifice yourself, or run screaming from the altar. I like how I wrote that. Yeah, that's fine. Shaving off 2 lines would be really good. But that's going to be tricky. So I will leave that for now. Okay, with that, I have freed up a little bit of space. Let's nudge everything down. Let's nudge everything down. Yes, dying or being ejected from a dinner party have equal weight in this system. I ran this game I used this system to run a game where players were vampire nobles navigating like a very intense social situation, and it got ludicrous at the end where there's a big opera playing in the background, and I have Dies Irae as the background music as, 2 characters are dueling for honor and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of that game was just about, social slights and small scale things in a way that I thought was a lot of fun. Okay. We're going to need to free up more room, like just looking at this. Character actions. When taking an action, decide what result you wish to achieve, and then choose the action that best suits your intention. Characters' actions always succeed, though the consequences that follow might put you in a bad position or an unexpected spot. You gain will, that should be capitalized, at the start of a new scene or by inviting trouble. Spend will. I guess I chose not to capitalize it. Okay. Spend will to take bold action. Taking bold action costs 1 will. If you have an affliction, taking bold action costs either 2 will or it costs 1 will and you gain 1 stress by invoking your affliction. That seemed fun when I wrote it. It's almost a little bit fiddly. I don't know. Maybe I'll just take it out. When you take bold action, the narrator gains doom equal to the stakes. For example, if the stakes are rising, 3, the narrator gains 3 doom for every bold action taken, which you can see the stakes are rising. I am loath to cut any of this. I really feel like I kind of got the whole game on these 2 sheets, but let's take that out. Me and my pals used to do movie pitch one-shots using Fate Accelerated. Are you familiar with the, what is the podcast? There's a podcast that does that. I think it's called the Movie Reroll Podcast, where it's just like, hey, we're presenting to you the inciting incidents of Jaws, and here are some pre-generated characters inspired by Jaws, and then now we're just going to play it out in tabletop and see, how similar it is or how different your actions make it, which is a pretty fun conceit. Okay, now we got 5 levels of effect. Let's create a new text box. If you do run a game in Harrowing, you are legally required to let me know how it goes. So just keep that in mind. See, I don't like this. This is me trying to match this but now I have gone and broken formatting. So now we got to rethink this. So let's turn, stop that, this into a more traditional bullet list. We're going to maybe we'll just take those away. Is the idea that we like require like a Google Doc that helps explain things, and this is just where like all that stuff. It would be nice if we did it. That kind of feels like how it's going. So, if you invoke a quality, gain +1 effect. Formatting and legibility are pretty important to me, so evoke an advantage, gain +1 effect. If you use the environment to your advantage, see that phrasing, not good right next to each other. If you take advantage, use the advantage to use it to your to the synonym generator. Advantage synonym. Upper hand edge. Edge is pretty good. Hi, June. Well, got a kitty cat here. Want to be on my lap? Oh. Does not want to be on my lap. That's fine. Let's go with edge. If you use the environment to gain an edge, gain or if it's just if you invoke the environment, of course. Yeah, if you invoke the environment to gain an edge, gain +1 effect. If you are assisted by an ally, gain +1 effect. Yeah. Okay. And then let's make a bullet points. How do you make bullets? Bullets in an Illustrator are really annoying. I think it's called like a list. This is the really exciting thing when I Google how Adobe products work. Bullet point Illustrator. Um, let's just add a bullet point character. Oh, there's just all kinds of ones. What does this one look like? That's okay. Nope. Nope. Go with the classic. Oh, that's too much wasted space. I don't like a bullet point. Let's do with it like an arrow. Like a right-facing arrow. Well, actually, do I have bullet points anywhere else on the list? Oh, there's my little clock illustration. So that's nice. Oh, great. So I don't need clocks. They are explained elsewhere. Awesome. Forgot about that. We don't have bullet points anywhere else. So let's not do bullet points at all. Okay. All of them are on one line except for this one. We'll see if that's a problem. June, what are you doing? Are you coming over? Coming to visit? Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Hi. Right on my desk. Right in front of everything. I try to get a... Say hello to Juniper. Good kitty. This is Juniper Bucket Bucheri, aka Gooniper, aka Goon Bucket. Alright, let's see if you let me use my keyboard. Let's just do that. If you invoke the environment, gain +1 effect. If you are assisted by an ally, gain +1 effect. Something's going on with the spacing. There we go. That's consistent now. There's a difference between enter and shift enter. So. Where to place this? What's the best way? Ew. That's you. That's what you sound like. Oh. I'm literally just trying to figure out like where the best way to place this would be. June, she's really going after the keyboard now because she wants attention. Okay, so now you can see, now we're doing shift enter. rather than regular enter. And let's just do this. And like that. That sucks. It's just taking up too much damn space. Could move the affliction down there. Which honestly, like, kind of lukewarm on affliction. I was really inspired by, what's it called? Like the Darkest Hour or the Darkest Heart or something like that in Monster Hearts, where it's just like, when your character would die, you can choose to die, or you can become like the worst version of yourself, and then now you continue on, but you really change who your character is. I thought that was so cool. I thought that was a really great idea, but it's just not how it has kind of shaken out. When people have taken afflictions, it's almost always a physical injury, which is, I do want it to be more abstract than that. I want there to be a broader range of what it could be. And then it just costs an extra resource. It doesn't really change the way that people play it. So maybe that's a sign that I just need to ditch that mechanic. Continuing on changed is something that I do find compelling. Affliction. In my experience, abstract afflictions are usually quite tough for players to conceptualize, but I love them as a mechanic. I agree. It's something that, look, almost all of my frustrations with tabletop game design can be traced back to Dungeons and Dragons being assumed default. And in Dungeons and Dragons, there's really only one way to hurt a character, which is by punching them. And breaking that mindset is kind of a never-ending struggle. See, I put this down here. I don't like it down there. Like, it's got to be... Yeah, it's got to be more up there. Layout design is, like, the most boring thing to watch, because it's just me, like, putting something there and just being like, no. No. What about here? No. Ah, damn it, now I'm annoyed because, like, that kind of fits okay. That's not the worst. All right, okay. Not perfect, but better. Oh, you know what it has to be? I got it backwards. This needs to go down here. And then this needs to go over here. Brian in the chat. Oh no, Batman. Hi, Brian. Is it all D&D's fault, though? I feel like death is an easy consequence to conceptualize, especially in a horror setting. I just think that some people don't have writer brain. Yeah, that's fair. You know, it's like similar to how video games are just like, why are there so many shooting games? Why are so many games violent? And it's because, like, from a programming perspective, like, it's the easiest, most effective, most tangible way to make a game. Like there's an obstacle in front of you and you remove the obstacle, and the easiest way to do that is through violence. And so like it just makes a lot of sense to do that. Whereas, you know, you get Disco Elysium and then now you have a gameplay segment about telling a woman who is worried that her husband has been out too late, that he died, and you have to break the news to her that she now, you know, is a widow. And that is a really bespoke piece of content. There's no way to automize or systematize that like you can with violence. You know, there's no combat engine principle that you can apply to a grieving widow. And trying to break out of, you know, broaden that horizon is always going to be really tricky. Doesn't mean I don't love combat games. Like, you know, play the fuck out of a Devil May Cry or whatever. It's just that sometimes it's cool to want to try other things. This is okay, this is promising. Expand that over there. And also to continue on with that previous point, it's not all D&D's fault. It's the problem is closer to D&D being the assumed default, where, you know, everything exists in contrast to D&D. I've talked about this a lot with Brian. He knows everything that I'm going to say. You know, I've said it plenty, but you know, I think it does make these conversations frustrating sometimes when you are, you know, talking past someone when one person is talking about Dungeons and Dragons and the other person is talking about like the creative potential of a medium. You know, maybe this is what directors who are frustrated by Marvel movies feel like, where it's like movies can be more, you know, you can do other stuff. You can have the Green Knight. And I'm over here being like, hell yeah, Green Knight. I think I changed the thickness of that line accidentally. Yeah, better. Okay. Resources. Ah, here we go. resources are down there. Effect is over here. Boom. Now that's what I call layout. That works to me. That feels good. Okay. Qualities and advantages. Can and should be puns of double meanings. Increases to increase the effect of your actions. Nice to trim a couple words off of that. Or maybe that's okay. It'd be nice to have it take up one less line. A little bit more space to breathe. Hi, Goon. Yes, I see you. Meow. Oh, that's a cat butt. Meow. Hi. This a good place for you? This helping? All right. Help an ally. Yeah, that feels pretty good. So let's rearrange these. Oh yeah, isn't that nice? Oh, so much space, so much room for activities. June is right on my keyboard. So what have we removed? What have we lost in this rearrange? So first of all, we've got help an ally. We've got 5 levels of effect. Let's assist an ally for consistent design language. You are programming with the human language. When you are writing a game, think about in programming, and you have to be very deliberate about, like, if-then statements, how you are describing, the order of operations. There's like the, videos on YouTube about like a dad asking his children to write instructions about how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but they didn't write to unscrew the lid of the peanut butter jar, and so he doesn't. It's very literal. So, similarly, just like any other programming language, tabletop games are written in a programming language, but the programming language is human speech. It's the English word. And making sure that your words are consistent go a long way in order to provide clarity. So keep that in mind. Blink. A little bit more. Character name, adjective, archetype. That was me being like, adjective is dirty, archetype is slacker. You know, so I'm Beth, the dirty slacker, and then that gives me, you know, an image in my head about like what kind of character this is. I don't know if anyone ever actually uses that. This is another thing where like noble design intentions I don't think necessarily translate into actually meaningful gameplay improvements. So let's just do this. What is this? What is this? Oh, it's text? Oh, that's weird. It's just underlines. Yeah, thank you, June. Character name, comma, description. Let's put an ampersand there. Oh my god, June! Right on top of the keyboard. Character name and description. Boom. Yeah, that's going to be better. And now you can see that this has gotten goofed up. A little bit more space. I had this like kind of at an angle. I'm talking myself out of it. No, I talked myself into it again. Like I kind of want to conform to the shape of the letter, but that's not. Oh my god! Please grab the Bezier. What are you doing? Yeah, there we go. No one will ever notice that at like fucking, you know, printer resolutions, that I'm matching the angle of the letter to that. But theoretically, it has like an invisible outline that is, you know, cutting it off. That's the idea behind it. No other boxes that are like these little fill-in-the-blank bubbles quite like this, which means let's just nudge them over ever so slightly. Design is a lot of this stuff. Just fussing. Just fussing. Okay, so let's save that. I haven't saved this whole time. Don't do that. Save your stuff. Let's pull open the previous version of the document to compare and contrast. So I removed from the bottom here scenes and clocks. Setting a scene. Okay, so yeah, that information is here. And then we also lost this section, describing character actions, describing the flow of the game. And I feel like I am loath to lose that section, which I think I still have that, do I? Yeah. But like, look how much space that takes up. How am I gonna find that much space? Even if I squish everything down. Well, let's try it anyways, because this is the kind of person I am. I feel good about ditching those two things down there. So add one more. Yep. And we're just creating a copy so that we don't lose any work in case this experiment doesn't work out. I don't want to move the top of the page. I don't want to move the bottom of the page due to margins, which means I got to squish everything else. So, a little bit of that. A little bit of that. Not enough. Can I do a little bit of that? Can I do a little bit of that? Still not enough, but close, almost enough. If I could take one line off of here, help another character's bold action. You are able to fill in the blanks of any effect that hasn't already been claimed. Oh, I forgot about how sloppy that phrasing was. You can invoke each type. You can invoke each. You invoke a resource while taking an action. So that's not strictly true anymore, because before it was just about doing these two. Actions start with limited effect. You can invoke each advantage, edge. You can invoke each something once. Each one of these bullet points once. You can increase the effect by each type once. No. You want to phrase it so that they're not trying to invoke multiple qualities, multiple advantages as part of a single action. Actions start with limited effect. You can increase the effect by doing each of the following once. Once per action. help another character's bold action by increasing the effect. That's sloppy. The narrator gains 0 doom when you take this action. I don't think I can trim this down more. I think it needs to be this long, which means that maybe this can be trimmed down, though I'm certain that I've tried doing that before. When taking an action, decide what result you wish to achieve, and then choose the action that best suits your intention. Character actions always succeed with the consequences that follow up, put you in a bad position or unexpected spot. You gain will at the start of a new scene by inviting trouble. Spend will to take bold action. Taking bold action costs 1 will. If you have affliction, bold action costs either 2 will or costs 1 will, and you gain stress by invoking the affliction. When you take bold action, the narrator gains doom equal to the stakes. For example, if the stakes were rising, let's just trim this down to just be about character actions. Maybe it's that simple. All right. This is close. This is very close. I've been running for a little bit over an hour. That's kind of where I've been targeting, so I'm going to end it here. We've got 90% of the way there. Now it's just really fussing. But I feel good. I mean, I think these changes are going to make a measurable improvement to the game. And then at that point, I feel like the game is just done. I feel like, anything else that I do to it is going to overwork it. I think this is the maximum level of effort that I can put into this game. And now it's time to just let it be itself. Which is a good feeling. It's not often that you feel like something is finished. So, cool. Thanks to everyone who came and hung out. Thanks for chatting with me. Thanks for listening to me think out loud. I've been doing this. I'm aiming to do this every day this week. So at least for the next 2 days in a row. And then I'm going to be trying to do it regularly on Wednesdays. So, yeah. See you around, Space Cowboy. It's a reference to the Good Show, not the whatever.